trust factor is so important in the electronic industry. And then, I don't think that's one thing can be replaced by ChatGPT, the robot. That human relationship and trust is such a powerful thing that I think it will never go away.
No. I see the whole AI of how to use it, right? It's some efficiency. It's a tool.
We kind of joke about it. Before, we always say you fake it until you make it, right? Like the unicorn. There's no such thing as a unicorn, but they fake it, and the unicorn is so popular, right? But right now with the kids, I don't think they even want to fake it anymore. It is how it is.
And now it's like everybody's like, you cannot multitask. You can concentrate and you can perform much better, right? If you concentrate on one thing and just execute on that, go to the next one instead of sitting with 5 different things.
With the newer generation, how they kind of see things different. That's definitely the new skill set, is to understand how, joke about a Gen Z, how they think or how they see things differently, and so that's kind of definitely something we continue learning on, that the whole skill set on more the new marketing thing. They say sometimes the internal a good salesperson is not always a good at talking or persuading. It's be a good listener, right? Listen to what other people say. So it definitely has changed me in a way, no matter it's from the overall view or it's from the kind of talking with different people.
This episode is sponsored by Sega Electronics, a North American distributor of interconnect, power, and electromechanical products, and a provider of custom solutions. With more than 135 years of innovation and service, Sega delivers quality components and trusted expertise through its distribution confidence business model. Headquartered in Middleborough, Massachusetts, Sega supports customers across North America with a network of sales representatives, power system engineers, and strategically located service centers. Their 2 distribution centers total over 268,000 square feet, along with a 47,000 square foot custom solution center in Texas, all designed to keep technology moving forward. Learn more at Sega.com. What if you could learn real leadership strategies from the people actually shaping the future of electronics, supply chain, and manufacturing? Welcome to Leadership Manufacturing Podcast. Here we are shaping the next generation of industry leaders. Each episode delivers actionable insights, people-first strategies from executives, innovators, and also change makers who know what it takes to adapt, motivate, and lead forward. And according to McKinsey, companies that invest in leadership and skills development are like 1.5 times more likely to maintain high performance. And that's the power of leadership done right. And that's what this show is about. I'm your host, Sanne Winding. I'm a strategic leader with over 20 years of experience in B2B marketing, product development, and helping people grow into confident, capable leaders. And you will hear practical lessons, honest conversations, and real-world tools that today's leaders are using to communicate better, build stronger teams, and also drive sustainable growth. So follow the show, subscribe, join me on YouTube or at the website. Just search for Leadership in Manufacturing. There's no fluff. This is just insight and inspiration that you need to grow and lead and make an impact. Today's guests understand the realities of leading across different cultures better than most. Jessica Chang is a distribution sales manager at Meanwheel USA, is a seasoned distribution sales leader with more than 20 years of experience in the power electronics industry. She has built her career where she drives channel growth, strengthens long-term distributor relationship, and supports customers with reliable power solutions. She will share how she simplifies complex programs, navigate urgency with intention, and uses listening as her core leadership habit. Her experience offers valuable insights for anyone working across borders in electronics, supply chain, or manufacturing. Enjoy the episode. Thanks for tuning in to Leadership Manufacturing Podcast. We have a great conversation lined up, and I'm really thrilled to welcome Jessica Chang. Welcome, Jessica.
Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Chang. How's everyone doing? How's Samantha? How are you doing today?
Good, good, good. And I'm so happy you're here, right? We had to reschedule a little bit, but we are here together. So that's awesome. So when I start these shows, I always want to have, because I have so many great leaders on the show. I always want to hear, what's their passion about the electronics industry. So what's your passion?
Well, my passion is about connecting with people, and I'm always, kind of know about. I am more the people person,
Yeah.
and I think in the electronic industry, you get to meet all different type of people, right?
Yeah.
The the fun type, the aggressive type, but it's always great to get to know everyone, and everyone's different. That's what makes this world so great. We get to
Yeah.
interact with the different personality, and everybody have different goal and different vision. And that's what I love about.
Yeah. And I also think, right, when we talk about the electronics industry, it's like a global industry, right? So
Hmm.
you always have these different cultures that either it's with companies you work together with, if it's like a supplier or distributor, right, or manufacturer or rep or something, and then the culture you have inside of your company, because that could also be like a mix of people coming from all around the world. So I want to ask you about, because it's like there's two different cultures, right? And I want you to go a little bit deeper if you can, talking about what it is to working between different cultures, because you work with the business culture like with Taiwan, and you also have the US. So what's the difference?
Yeah, it could be challenging. Yeah. So, well, originally born in Taiwan and then moved to the state in middle school and, went through the whole education in the US. And then for me, I also have that kind of like that mix, that culture, differences within me, right? I brought up with this different culture, but now I love, embrace my own culture, but also learn about the US culture. So, I think in the electronic world we are,
Yeah.
the other way how you kind of just even just talking, being direct or indirect, it's very different from the Western culture and the Eastern culture, right?
Yeah.
And the way like you ask question, right? I think in the Western culture, definitely we're a little bit more direct. But if you're working with more, certainly Eastern culture, maybe in Japanese, they typically they say when they say no, they don't tell you no. They give you a whole bunch of reason indirectly. So
Yeah.
you kind of had to get a hand like, oh, is that yes or no on that? So yeah, it's definitely it's very different. And I think culture awareness of what when you're doing business, aware of their culture, acknowledgement, what's their culture like, it's very important because sometimes maybe that miscommunication will get lost because of the culture different. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Denmark, so I understand as
Ah,
well, so the European, right? And then
yes.
Canadian, right? And then with the US culture. So I totally get what you're saying, just from a different angle. And I think also like just if you're like having fun or you're making a joke, you have to make sure that you joke you're doing, if you want to like lift up the room, right? Or the meeting, that you're not offending anyone.
True.
Right. So you really have to read the room and make sure that everybody's in there, right? It's like being on the stage, right? And understand your audience. But so anything where you like really have like a learning, right, of how to communicate clear, is that to repeat things, or or the project or the task, or this is a strategy, or what's one gold little mind for how to communicate across cultures?
I think one of the probably key thing is to be, more clear about, hey, this is what we're asking for. And then, yeah, definitely repeat if it's a language barrier or anything like that, say, hey, this is what we try to deliver.
Yeah.
So I think to be very clear in the communication and of course, do it in respect way, right? Now, when I say sometimes direct, maybe too direct, they would take offense, right?
Yeah.
But I think being very clear on that and very honest and transparent about, what you try to deliver to different culture. And I think the people sees that on the
Yeah.
other side, they see like, being very clear on your message and sincere about your message. And I think that's very important for the first step. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I also think, and I know I have an accent. I know my kids told me. I know I have it, and I can't hear it, and it's just funny,
I
right?
do
No,
too.
but yeah. But it's also working right within teams, and you have the different culture, but you also have, the accent. Sometimes it can be difficult, right? I know I have certain words where I'm like, oh my, I'm not going. I know I understand it, I know how to spell it, but I cannot pronounce it.
Yeah.
So sometimes as well, right? Being sure that everybody in the group understand each other, or maybe just speak slower, right? When you have to present it, or having that slide deck that can support you present it. So you're breaking down that barrier, right? Of the culture, maybe of that accent. So you're making sure that you are on that same page. So I think it takes, and I would love to hear your input of this, but I think it takes sometimes when you work with different cultures, it does take some more work and some more like acknowledgement around it.
No, I agree. I just attended like this leadership class, and I forget the data, but I remember, when we talk, the body language and your tone is actually represent 2/3 what you try to represent. The word just maybe just 1/3 on that.
Yeah.
And I think yeah, definitely making an eye contact, and then when you talk to someone, that's also kind of important. But yeah, with the culture difference, I think in the business world, I think most people in this world, they dealt with different culture, different people from all over different world. Most people already kind of aware of it, but it just kind of being when you talk with someone, I think being kind of respectful in each other, and I think that's something very important too. Yeah.
It is. So the headquarters is in Taiwan, right? So how do you translate? Because I'm sure that's all the expectation, right, from the headquarters.
Yes.
Translate that into the US team so they can actually use it, because I'm sure that there's something there. There's some magic happening.
Not easy, right? Of course, the headquarters in Taiwan. Meanwhile, we have a sales global wide. So we do a lot of business in Europe, in China, Taiwan, all over the country. So sometimes certain programs given to us, we're like, this is not going to work. It's not going to work, right? And when I started working for Meanwhile, I'm like, this is not going to work. I'm not going to even try, right? But hey, our company is so successful in every country, right? And then I'm like, I think at first I kind of like, well, I know the culture. I've been here for 20 plus year or 30 plus year. It's not going to work. But I think the now being working in this industry and then dealt with two different culture, and then personally me too, right? Like, my mom tell me something, I'm like, Mom, that's not how we do it in the US, And I think it's to at least kind of knowledge for it, and then at least try it out. So there's some program rollout. I think it might not work, but hey, they roll out this program because they want to test it out, right? So a lot of time I would say, okay, let me see it from different view, right? It might work, and then sometimes I might have to massage a bit. When I say massage, it's like if I deliver the same words and sentence to my customer, they're like, whoa, how's that gonna work, right? So I might need to massage in a way like, hey, let's try to do it this way. And then another thing is sometimes if I don't think this would be 100% working, I will go back to the headquarters and say, hey, can we modify program in this way? Because maybe in the US way, we don't do stuff like that, right? Or we don't do it what we do, but it might be come out differently. Our customer might take it in the wrong way. Can we just I'm not going to change because the headquarters, they're the one give me direction, but maybe we can modify a bit our US customer can kind of more adapt to it. So I always feel like I'm not bridge, and communicating between those two. And then, a lot of time they say, well, okay, as long as our main purpose doesn't change, yes, maybe it's the way how you deliver to customer. It's differently on that.
So you make like a little pivot to it, right? So that it's into the culture. Is there an example you can share?
I think one of the example probably want to share is so we are running this kind of sales program, right? Basically, we make the not going to go in detail, but it was kind of like 10 steps. You had to, you're able to get a certain award or a qualification. You had to do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Because I personally think how our Asian thinking is somewhat complicated. You had to kind of work hard to get to the bottom line. But if you get to the step 8 or 9, you get big reward, right? So what I did is from this kind of 10-step process, modify it to a more like just like 4-step or 5-step.
Yeah.
So basically to make a more clear communication and then just kind of simplifies it. And so my customers are willing to say, okay, I want to be part of this program. Because if you tell them, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, they get lost. And then they're like, yeah, so that's also one of the program I can't just send a document.
You simplified it, but in the good way, right? To achieve everything.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. And then I think that's kind of the way why some of the challenge that we kind of deal with every day. But right now I don't see it as a challenge. I basically see it as hey, maybe that's another new way how I kind of can figure out a way to communicate, right? And sometimes they just go back and forth. Maybe the customers, they still don't get it. And I might need to make another call or we'll go back to the headquarters and say, can we twist it more?
No, that's good. I like that. And sometimes, right, I think if you have a project or something like that, right, if you simplify it or you pivot a little bit, sometimes it even get better, right? And maybe that can be duplicated in like other countries. So it's that's just I love that, hearing that kind of insight of how to like de-engineering something. That's how I would say it, but I'm an engineer. No. What about the urgency, right? Because I think different cultures, right? There's like what you need to do, but there's also urgency, and it's like when you have like now you have the red flag there. How do you handle that, and what's your advice when you have these different cultures?
Oh, for the urgency, I feel like I feel like our Asian culture, everything is urgent, right? And then, but I think that one example, sometimes when they want to roll out certain program, they're like, oh, we got to get this done in 2 days. I'm like, whoa, it takes time, right? So I think it's a communicating back, say, hey, can we have a week? Because tell the reason why. I always want to know. I also, whatever, there's certain thing like, I don't want to say, well, I can't do it, right? But I want to say the reason why I cannot get this complete in 2 days because we need a certain time to kind of get to the right person on that. So the urgency, I understand it's urgent on our headquarters side, but I would rather, kind of, I'm not saying give me a month, but give me a week to get a thing right, versus rushing through it and everybody's not clear about the direction, and then we might have to spend longer time to do it. So the urgency is also one of the things. Like certain thing when in my culture, a certain thing they say, hey, we want to get that. It's more fast paced, I feel like, in Asia. A lot of time, the other thing, the way they work is definitely a little more fast paced, the whole US culture on that.
No, that's a good insight. I also think what you just said, right? When you ask, right, give me like more reasons, right? But also like have that explanation, because that could be like hidden questions, right? That you need to have answered as well before you can actually go and execute on that project or that task. So that it's so important sometimes to slow down, right? Before you can pick up. And then because the more you know up front, right, the faster you can actually go through everything there. So I like that. But it's I've seen it as well. There's a different way when you have something like, if it's urgency or if it's burning, right? Is everybody just leaning in and then we're doing it, right? Or do you actually say, okay, let's make sure that we have everything so we can do it the proper way, so it doesn't take too long? Because that's also a drag, right? Because that's like waste of resources. Yeah. What about so with your team, right? How do you keep them motivated?
I think being motivated is, I think we, as a leader, I think we need to, acknowledge and know like how they're doing well, right? And I think keep them motivated is telling, hey, the reason why we do this is to accomplish not a bigger picture, right? So they know how to do it, what to do. I think all of our team very good at, even better than some of the leader, but they don't know the reason why they're doing it. So basically keep them motivated is to not only see the big picture, we work as a team, this is what we're going to achieve together, right? So keep them motivated, say, hey, this is our goal. And then also, I think for our company, right, and we a lot of our product, go into different industry and also tell them the story behind, right? For example, during the COVID time, many of our product in power supply, they go to the vending machine in the hospital bed, right? Hey, that's worked a bit harder, try to expedite the parts for them because those power supply is just a hardware, but hey, it's not we are saving the people, but it's get to the hospital where they need extra bed, and all that stuff. And they see it behind like what they're doing day to day. It's like, wow, our products actually, with the whole COVID have a shortage on the ventilator or the hospital bed, we can get, if we can help work expedite a little bit more of a component, we can get more of the medical bed manufacturer side out of the door. So and then when they see that they're willing to, work a little bit harder or work a little bit, try to go out there, a little bit more than 100% to call out to kind of help out on this kind of cases like that.
So that's also connected to how you build that trust with your customers, right? Because if you have that trust, that's much easier, right? To share that with everyone in your team and then get that motivation going.
Yeah, and then I love how you point out trust, and I think one of the thing I think earlier you mentioned about in this industry, I mentioned about people, right? And I think trust is very important, and I think kind of tying together culture in terms of Asia culture, we build trust slowly, and basically we work with for like 2 years, 3 years, we both trust together, and then I like to when I say something. I say I'm going to do it. I need to make sure I live up to my word. So that's one thing that, many of our distribution partner I work with for 20 plus year, like we, of course, there's a differences, there's a disagreement, but, when I say I'm going to do something for them, or I say, hey, if this happened to you next time, I will support you in the same way how I support another partner. But right now I'm going to tell you no, because I'm supporting another partner. I want to demonstrate that. So I think that trust factor is so important in the electronic industry. And then, I don't think that's one thing can be replaced by ChatGPT, the robot. That human relationship and trust is such a powerful thing that I think it's it will never go away.
No. I see the whole AI of how to use it, right? It's some efficiency. It's a tool, but it's going faster and faster. So it will replace something at a certain point, but it won't replace that last piece, which is that personal touch and the trust, as you're just saying. Quick pause. If you're enjoying this conversation and picking up new leadership tip, go hit that follow button. And if you want more, come hang out with us on YouTube. Just search for Leadership in Manufacturing. Back to the show. I want to touch on something, because with the culture, and I don't think I've asked anybody about this, so you're the first one here, because with change management, right? Of there's something changed in an organization, and they're saying, okay, now this is the new structure, this is a new goal, and this is where we're going. Nobody likes change. That's just how we human are. That's just how it is. Even though we tell ourselves, it's good, we need to do it. But it happens, right? Because this is how the world is. So how with the cultural difference? What is what is change management, or how do you look at that now that you can see the both cultures?
Oh yeah, I you know what, I love this question. Is one thing about the company I work with now, and we always kind of joke about it. We say, hey, one thing that hasn't changed is always changing. So the world we are, especially the work pace we are, is always something change. No matter we want to or we don't want to, the whole the big environment is changing.
Yeah.
So
No,
if
something's happening, right?
yeah, and then if we don't want to adopt change, I think personally or professionally, you will be kind of behind on many things on that.
Yeah.
But to tie up with the culture too, I think that's something, I think the other culture too, like they're changing, in different way, right? And I think no matter it's good and bad, like we get to learn, like, hey, I always say why, that culture is changing in a different way, or how it's different between the culture we are, or the person that you deal with, right? So I think for that change, we always want to learn about, kind of understand what the change coming, right? And
Yeah.
why that change is good, and then try to kind of look on the bright side, right? Because there's always two sides to it, and I think that's very important for us to kind of understand that part. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also to listen, right? Because you've sat and saying, okay, this is how we're going to change. There's again other changing happening, so you have to make sure that you're listening and actually go in the right direction. So with all this change and the culture, if you look at yourself, how have your leadership style changed over the last couple of years?
It has changed. It's stuff that, no, it's I think if I look back, I definitely changed in a way is, hey, need to be more people-centered leadership. And then before it's like, hey, before they speak, I speak, say, hey, this is how it's going to be, that's what's given by my manager. That's how it's going to be. But now it's kind of changing the way. Say, hey, hey, I want to kind of hear what you think about it. And like now they talk, right? And then also get their perspective. Or during the meeting, it's always, the manager talking, right? Right now it's like, hey, I try to change in a way. It's like, hey, kind of want to hear, because they're the one deal with daily stuff, operating stuff. And if you don't get their insight, this whole team is not going to operate, right? So that's something I definitely try change more, especially we are in sales. They say sometimes the internal a good salesperson is not always a good at talking or persuading. It's be a good listener, right? Listen to what other people say. So it definitely has changed me in a way. No matter it's from the overall view, or it's from the kind of talking with different people. Yeah.
You already took, because I wanted to hear, what your leadership habits, right? What have helped you the most? But I think you just said it, right? So it's the listening has been a big mover. And I think it's so important, because you can be in meetings and you can see somebody's just, if there's any conversation going on, right, or questions or something, right, somebody will be really fast of saying something. And you're like, oh my God, I needed to actually process that before I had something clever or a question or something I wanted to say that could actually benefit the whole team. So the listening, right, but also make sure you have the time to just saying, okay, what does that mean, right? And then you can actually have that really great conversation. So sometimes, again, right, the slow down before you start.
Slow down. It's okay for leader to slow down. That's one thing,
Right?
because we always urgent. This is urgent. But sometimes when you kind of slow down or kind of hold back, you will see that everything will be okay.
What about skill set? I wanted to hear, is there any new skill you have acquired over the last year or something?
In terms of a skill set, I think in terms of kind of in the electronic industry, with the workplace we are, of course, we need to learn about the newer technology for our company-owned product. But I think the soft skill, right? I think soft skill, that's very important. And then I also handle marketing a little bit. I think being understand a bit more skill set on the whole social media thing, understand how to best market, your company, yourself, right? And then in the world, and then it's totally different from 10 years ago on that. So with the, newer generation, how they kind of see things different, that's definitely the new skill set, is to understand how, joke about a Gen Z, how they think, or how they see things differently. And so that's kind of definitely something we continue learning on that, the whole skill set on more the new marketing thing, right?
Yeah, no, it's so fun. Yeah, I think the younger generation, right? They can do anything from their phone. Where I'm like, oh no, we need to log in on, on
Yes.
my laptop here. No.
Yeah, and it's so funny. And we like text each other, but we're like, can you just pick up the phone to
Yeah.
call? You know, just a 10 message, right? So, yeah, that's definitely very different.
Oh yeah, and I think I need a new course in what emojis I should use. I think I'm sure I used the the one from 5 years ago, but no, it's all good. But I think it's so good with all the generations, right? We need to listen and to learn from each other, and that is just so great. Again, I think we're seeing so much new talent coming into the industry, and it's just great to see that transformation or change management, right? We were just talking about, right? It's slowly happening.
Yes.
So that's just so great to see. So I want to ask you, there's a few more questions here because I want
Sure.
to hear when it's a younger generation, right? What kind of advice would you give them if they're starting in the industry and they haven't been in the industry before? And what kind of skill set or what should they do to get like the first foot or the first step into this electronics world and actually have a great time?
I would think, they when they ask a question to think first, because I think with the now generation, they know how to find an answer, right? They just had to, to ask ChatGPT. They're very good at finding answer, but they don't really kind of digest the question or think first on that. So I would recommend, like, a lot of question was given to you or problem at a
Yeah,
workplace to kind of sit back and think first. It's like, wow, kind of analyze some of the data versus like, okay, here's the answer. And then, but they don't really, yes, we know the answer, but they don't know how that process
yeah,
is kind of get to the answer. And I think that's very important. And then also still show that, like we kind of joke about it. Before we always say you fake it until you make it, right? Like the unicorn. There's no such
yeah,
thing as a unicorn, but they
oh,
fake it and the
yeah,
unicorn is so popular, right? But right now with the kids, like I don't think they even want to fake it anymore. It is how it is. Like you
yeah,
like me or you don't like me, right? It's okay. I think that's great. I think it's great being yourself, right? But I think at a workplace, sometimes you still have to, show like you're willing to learn stuff.
yeah,
You showing you're being present, showing you're willing to work, instead of like, have that attitude. It's like, okay, it is what it is,
yeah.
so that good attitude, I think it's very important. Not saying you had to fake it, but at least
No,
you
no,
you
no.
you had to kind of show it versus like, hey, we
Yeah.
don't, and then we can see it, and being anybody working in the industry for so long, it's like, well, is this person seems like they're, show up and then willing to work and have a good attitude on that, and then I
Yeah.
think that can get you much further, and the company is willing to invest you in more on that part.
Yeah, I like that. I also like what you're saying. There's no more unicorn, right? It's like
Yeah,
the buzzword that was on, all over, right? On any job, right?
yeah.
It was like you have to multitask and you had to show how you could multitask, right? And there was the unicorn. And now it's like everybody's like, you cannot multitask. You can
Hmm.
concentrate and you can perform much better, right? If you concentrate on one thing and just execute on that, go to the next one instead of sitting with five different things. So, but that's how everything is changing. But I like what you're saying. I think it's also understanding the problem solving, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
understand how you got there. Because if you
Hmm.
understand that process, even if it's within that organization you're in, to say, okay, this is how the team works, or this is how the information goes in when a customer asks or we have an issue, right? If you understand how everything is like going together, all the dots, right? If you understand
Yeah.
something similar happened, right? They're much better skilled to say, okay, I know what to do because I can connect the dots and now I can solve
Yep.
something similar, right? So I think that's what I'm hearing you saying.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So last question I have here. Love it,
Yes.
love it. Yeah, no, but because it's reflecting and it's the change management, right? And we talked about, what have you learned with skills and stuff like that. So it's like if you look back, Jessica, like 10 years ago, what kind of
Mhm.
advice would you give yourself?
I would give myself as I think we've mentioned a lot in this conversation. It's okay to slow down.
Yeah.
For me, I think I'm always what get things done and little bit overachiever, like, hey, it's once get this done, if it's due on tomorrow, I want to send it out today, right? So it's okay to slow down to not saying you're not going to get things done, but once you slow down and then kind of sit back, a lot of things, your team or certain thing within that day that they're able to do it, right?
Yeah.
And then so that might be something I want to give it to myself because I think for me there's certain thing I feel like I was too urgent to get stuff done, but everything is urgent. But the very important, like the very important thing, it's I should have spent more time on the very important, but I feel like everything is urgent. So maybe at that time, maybe certain thing I didn't prioritize right. So I would think that's something if I could have changed, I would want to.
I like, and it's always easier now, right? When you look back, when you're in the moment, right? It always feels either a mountain or you climb to that top and then you're like, right? Overachiever, you did it, right? But looking back, you're like, oh my God, I could have waited the 6 hours, right? Or that day, the world will still have been the same.
Yeah.
But it's easier after. I think it's easier after. But I also think it's so important that you sharing that is that it's every day is a learning, right? And every day is so good. Maybe you don't have to reflect on every day, but still sometimes take the time, right? And do that reflection because I'm sure we are in the middle of something right now. Everybody is in the middle of something happening where it could feel like that mountain. So it's okay to slow down. I think that's the one, right? And then be present and ask the right questions. I have so many titles for this.
That's right. And I always ask why, what's the reason behind. So I think that's very important too.
That's awesome. So thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing everything.
Problem.
It was so many learnings.
And it's so much fun. I love it. This is great. You make it feel so comfortable and easygoing. I was so nervous at first, but you make it sound like, very easy conversation.
Heard that before, so that's why I'm like, I want it to be good. So I want to make, if it's okay with you, just something you already talked about, but if I can make a bonus clip where I ask you about, and we either talk about the culture or maybe talking about, asking the why it's important to ask the why. So should we take the one asking the why within a team? And then if you could it's just like a 30-second or 20-second answer. It's not like you have to, it's not like full. I just want to ask. Okay, let me just ask you and then we take we clip here and okay. So Jessica, I have one more question. I want to ask you, when you have a team, right? And if you have younger team members, right? Let me start over. See, I'm like,
no worry.
I see right now I'm screwing up here. Okay, Jessica, I have one more question because we have a lot of new talent coming into the industry, which I love. And I think we're all seeing it. So we already talked about the advice, right? To say you have to ask, right? More questions or you have to slow down. But if you could go just a little bit deeper to say, why is it so important to ask these questions when you are in a meeting or going into a new organization and you have to settle in?
I think it's important to ask those questions to be more clear. I think the communication, because if you don't have the clear communication, and it could go in different direction, right? And none of the team know the reason why behind it, because they know what to do and how to do it. But if they know why we had to do this, then they're willing to put extra effort to it.
Yeah. I like it. It's like de-engineering, right? Ask the question, connect the dots. So you actually are much better skilled next time you are in front of that kind of challenge or problem, if you want to be a little bit more negative and say problem. It helps us all, right? I think when you understand, and also when with an organization, if they're growing and you have many team members, right? Or there's different teams as well. You need to understand how everything is connecting. Because otherwise you can't navigate in it, right?
True. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I'm trying to. So thank you so much.
No, thank you so much.
Today's episode is brought to you by Sega Electronics. For more than 135 years, Sega has been helping connecting technology and people. They're a trusted North American distributor of interconnect, power, and electromechanical products, and they also offer custom solutions to meet unique needs. With a reputation for quality innovation and customer service, Sega delivers the confidence that technology will work when it matters the most. Learn more at Sega.com. Thanks again for listening to this episode. I appreciate so much that you're here to the end. And I want to share because we're doing awesome on YouTube. We have over 200,000 views. So I want to make sure that you're following us on YouTube. So just look up Leadership in Manufacturing and make sure to subscribe. Another one, I also want you to sign up for the newsletter because I want you to stay in the loop when we have a new episode or when we actually have a good leadership tips that we want to share. So make sure to search for leadershipmanufacturing.com, sign up today, just look for the newsletter. And thank you so much for listening to the full episode. And one more, right? Remember, stay curious, keep learning. See you next time.